seen that Wake the Tiger thing?
Oh, is that like that audio-visual immersive experience thing? Yeah, I have. It's sick.
Yeah, there's one where you could like walk in and it would track you.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I saw that. How the hell do I do that?
I mean, I've seen it in like live band stuff as well around Bristol.
Yeah.
Is there anyone we know who does it?
Oof, I don't. Oh, maybe Sam.
Sam Chilton.
Yeah, Sam Chilton.
Ah,
There you go. Okay. Do you want to give him a bell?
I'll give him a bell. Hang on.
Give him a bell. Welcome back to another episode of the Artifex podcast. We are joined by the lovely Sam Chilton today. Hello, Sam.
Hello.
How are we?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, not bad.
Lovely stuff. Sam's just finished his work and now he's come straight to Artifex HQ for another episode.
Yeah,
so thank you very much for your free
another
time
episode of
and making
conversation and
exactly.
So one social to another.
One social to another, exactly. And
Grind never stops.
Exactly, never stops. And we're just here to learn about what Sam does. So, Sam, can you just give us like a very brief like background on like where you're from and just a brief overview of what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm from Devon originally.
Big up, come on.
Big up
Every single person we've interviewed is from Devon.
No, not everyone, but
Most people.
Most people that move to Bristol come
Yeah,
from Devon
that's true.
originally.
Whereabouts?
From Exmouth originally.
Damn.
Nice little
Exmouth
seaside
crew.
town. Yeah. And then moved up to Bristol. Moved up about 5 years ago, I think, for uni.
Nice.
I did filmmaking at UE.
Yep.
Stuck around after I finished the course and got a job at a TV and film place in Bristol.
Smashing
So
it.
yeah, still
Get on.
hanging around.
Huge stuff. Okay, so we're very excited to have you as a guest because your creative medium is something that we've not had too much experience with, and we just from what we've seen, well, from what I've seen at least, I'm absolutely blown away at like what you're doing. I can't even comprehend where to begin with it. So could you give us like a brief like explain like I'm 5 years old kind of thing of like what you do, and then you can get into a more techier.
Sure, yeah, I'll give it a go.
aspects
It confuses me as well. So,
Yeah.
no, what I make is real-time animation, and I use a Generative software, and the software I use renders things in real time. So combining all of those aspects, you can do quite interesting creative things. For example, I use live audio a lot. So I'll take the audio from a music instrument or DJ decks or something, and I'll use the live audio data to affect my visuals.
That's wicked.
Yeah, interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So how does that for you as like in terms of like outputs? How does that work? So if are you working individually on a lot of these things and creating this sort of work and then putting it out, or both? Are you working with people to create? Because I know you've done a few like live stuff with bands or artists or whatever. What does that look like and how does that work?
Yeah, so I don't make any audio myself, but conveniently a lot of my friends are musicians. So I usually either use one of their pre-existing songs to make something, or I'll make something without audio and add in one of their tracks at a later date.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's wild, yeah. Like we're gonna put some like visual cues of what he's done. So watch the podcast if you're listening.
Yeah.
But it's really insane stuff. Like there's this video on your Instagram of someone like walking past like this giant LED screen that shows their entire body like an LED going
Wake
with
the
it.
Tiger.
Yes.
That is Wake the Tiger.
Yes,
Yes.
that's my recent commission
So
with Wake
yes,
the Tiger.
That's
yeah.
wicked.
Massive.
So yeah.
Thank you.
Can you give like a just describe like Wake the Tiger for people who don't know?
Right, yeah. So Wake the Tiger are a Bristol-based company. They're owned by Boomtown.
Yeah.
And it's called an amazement park. So what it is basically a warehouse full of 30 or 40 rooms now, I think. And each of the rooms have their own installation, sometimes multiple installations in one room, and they're all linked with a storyline. So yeah, I was approached by Wake the Tiger towards the start of 2023 to basically build an installation for one of their new rooms that they've just opened.
That's so exciting.
So yeah, I was really happy with that one.
Yeah.
How was that? So, crazy to be approached in the first place.
Yeah,
From
yeah,
a company
wild.
like that.
Yeah.
But was it a sort of, they gave you a brief and then you sort of responded to it? Or was it sort of a thing where you had work that you were like, I want to do this, and
they sent over a brief, and then I responded with a proposal that sort of built upon the brief they sent me originally.
Yeah.
But they let me know that they liked a lot of my like particle sort of works,
Right.
And that they wanted to bring some of that into the installation. And then we just kind of went from there and developed something. We developed quite a few things because the first few didn't really work. We had a lot of technical difficulties, and it took 10 months to do the whole thing.
Damn.
And about 6 months in, they completely changed the physical layout of the room that I was doing, which, as you can imagine, caused a lot of complications. I kind of had to start from scratch again.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's,
it was a good process.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to work that freely with a company. How was that? Is that the first thing you've done with like a company like that?
Yeah,
on that scale, I guess.
That's definitely the biggest thing I've done so far.
Yeah.
And it's my first installation as well.
Yeah,
which is quite exciting. Yeah.
So were they? Because again, it's sort of like a uni background, like the brief, the proposal. It's like classic uni 101. But how the hell did that work? Was it like, here's a pot of money, see what you can do with it, or was it like you show us what you want to do with a certain budget? Like how did that work? Because I can't fathom how sort of intense that must be as like a first installation.
So they emailed me out of the blue one day, and they obviously said they wanted to get me involved. I had to sign an NDA at that point to move on. But at that point, they basically told me how much money they have for the budget, and that obviously made me think about what equipment I could use and the scale of the work that I was prepared to do. Obviously, I wasn't going to do a 10-month long project for not very much money. Yeah, with the incentive there, I realised what I wanted to do, and
that's amazing.
Awesome.
Like, how old are you? Sorry,
25.
Yeah, so we're all similar age. That's amazing.
Mm.
Like such a good stepping stone into that sort of world.
Yeah,
and to get that opportunity, amazing.
I was so grateful
it's obviously
for it,
deserved, but it's like really amazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What was it like going into that industry? Like, not necessarily like coming into it like, it's not like a graduate job where you're like, oh, I've just come here and I'm new. You're coming in for a big thing. Like, what was it kind of like entering into that?
It was kind of scary.
Space.
Yeah, obviously, because as I just said, I've never done an installation before, and it's a big company, and I think on the new expansion that I was a part of, there was probably like hundreds of people working on it.
Wow.
Both creatives and like tradies, like builders and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was quite a lot to walk into without any real previous installation experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I sort of had to like fake it till you make it.
Absolutely.
But I learned a lot in the first couple months. Happily it all came together.
Yeah, amazing.
Were you like spearheading and like leading that whole like your installation? Like, were you like almost like the project manager of that certain thing?
Not really, no. I had someone, the person who hired me and sort of went through the brief and proposal process with me. He was, I guess, my manager, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I decided what I was going to do, you know. They didn't really know too much about the software I use, etc. So they let me take care of all the creative choices and stuff. And they were just more focused on like the narrative part of it and the storyline, making sure it like made sense within the wider context of Wake the Tiger,
right.
I suppose.
Absolutely.
Awesome, man.
I think it's such an interesting world because we've talked to a lot of creative different fields, people within them, and there seems to be like the sort of linking factor where it's like everyone is trying to make work, trying to do something for them, but also earn money and trying to make a living out of it.
Mm.
How has the industry that you're in evolved from when you began and to now? Have you seen any big changes? Because in the simplest form, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree that like new media art, I guess as a buzzword or a term, has grown a lot in the past couple of years. I actually did my dissertation at uni on this,
Right. Yeah.
and discussed whether or not the future of cinema is immersive, and talked about a lot of like new media artists that were doing immersive exhibitions, like Refik Anadol.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you heard of him. He creates these like crazy AI data sculptures,
Right, yeah.
and showcases them in galleries in really like unique ways.
Oh my goodness.
It'd be like an immersive room with like 8 projectors, and every wall is like projection mapped, and it looks like you
Wow.
step into this big particle environment.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
crazy. But obviously, since the technology's gotten better in the past decade or so, artists always keep up to date with like cutting edge tech and bringing that into their own work. So yeah, I think like a lot of creative fields, as the tech increases, the artists just start using the new tech.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you find there's like, you say like in the last 10 years, like has that integration of like this new tech and like the art field you're in, have you almost like seen like an exponential like growth in usage and like the kind of cutting edge kind of stuff, or is it people just like utilizing it in different ways? And
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too clued up, really, but yeah, I've definitely seen like exponential growth within Touch Designer alone, which is my main software that I use, especially with all the recent AI developments in the past couple of years.
that's crazy.
So people have started integrating like text-to-image AI things like natively within Touch Designer, so you can do like real-time text-to-image stuff. Combine that with like audio reactive work, so you could get like a text-to-image video that's like generates something new every time a kick drum plays or something like that. So yeah, people are doing really techie stuff.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Yes, and I just sort of cherry pick what I'm interested in and follow down those routes.
Yeah,
good. That's
absolutely.
what it should be. Yeah, smashing it.
Jump on the stage, do it for days, so damn icy.
What was your like first beginnings in like? So you say you did like film at UE. Like what? Like where did this all begin? This entire journey.
So I actually found out about Touch Designer through my course. So we had a module. I can't remember what it was called, but we had a module. The whole thing was about setting yourself up to fail. So we could basically just do anything we wanted, but we had to have never done it before. So someone made like a prop sword. People did all kinds of things. I was quite interested in real-time installations at that point. So I did a lot of research, found out about the software called Touch Designer, and I made this really shit installation that basically when you clapped or when you shouted, when you made noise, the screen lit up with colours. It didn't look very good, but it was sort of a proof of concept thing for like real-time audio affecting video, really. And then after I finished my degree, I realised I didn't want to be an editor or a colorist, as I previously thought. So I followed down the route of live audio affecting video, and just got more and more into it, really. And then eventually figured out how I could use like audio from DJ decks to like drive the movement of animation, and started doing that for my friends who make music for their like music releases, making little like visualizer videos, and doing their like live gigs. So taking the live audio from whatever they're playing in the club and using it to drive the movement of my videos, and then just outputting that through a projector, basically.
Amazing. What do you think, for you, what was it like working with your friends and the sort of different artists, and has it been something where you've been able to branch out to people that you don't necessarily know, you're working with new people, or are you still working within your circle?
Yeah, so I've still got a few of my friends that I go back to and I work with all the time. Mostly because they're lovely people to work with, but also because they make the kind of music that I guess represents the sort of visuals that I want to bring across. So one of my main collaborators is my mate Charlie. His artist name's Daddy Hyphen.
Nice.
He's recently made a new label in Bristol called Resonant Body, which I'm sort of like the AV guy for.
Cool.
But he makes a lot of like broken techno-y, like ambient, kind of alien space music.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I think that represents the like ethereal sort of world that I want to bring across with my visuals. And yeah, through working with artists like Charlie and a few of my other mates, I've been able to reach out to artists that I'd love to work with, and vice versa, artists that I'd love to work with have reached out to me, which has been really exciting. So last year, maybe the year before, I did a gig with a music producer in Bristol called Yush, which she's been like one of my favourite music producers for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So it was really exciting getting to work with Jen
Yeah.
in a live gig setting. So it was like the event's called Wetware. So it's like an audio visual gig in Bristol, and the focus on Wetware is like both audio and visual have like 50-50 split. So obviously for a lot of club nights, they may have visuals, whether they're real time or not, but the focus is still on the music. But with Wetware, the focus is on the visuals as much as the music.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it mainly EDM, or are we talking? Because you've mentioned there that people that are DJing or whatever, or is there stuff where you're working with bands as well? Is it is it quite a wide thing?
I've only ever worked with one band, which are HAAL, which I think you guys have had on the podcast before.
Yeah.
I've made like music videos for them, but I've never done any live visuals for them before. I'd love to rig up their guitars and drums with sensors, so like whatever they're playing on the guitar or whatever drums Joe's hitting is like I'm getting the live data directly into Touch Designer from that.
Amazing.
But yeah, I mean, aside from live visuals, I'd like to use the software to just create music videos as well,
Amazing.
that aren't used for like a live performance setting, but can just be uploaded online or something like that.
Yeah. No, amazing.
I have this image in my head. When you say like real time, is it like all the inputs are coming in and you've got to like Guitar Hero like the shit out of your keyboard and stuff to like make sure it's all happening, or is that like is it already like happening like intuitive as it is?
I would imagine it's like code and response.
Yeah, it's like one of the main things Touch Design is used for is inputting and sending out live or real-time data.
Yeah.
So you can do it with like camera feed data. That's how I made the Wake the Tiger installation. I use like depth cameras and then synthesize that data in Touch Designer. And you do it the same way with audio. So say if you take an audio feed from a pair of DJ decks, what you're getting in Touch Designer is just the raw like audio waveform.
Right.
And then from that point you like build a network in Touch Designer that sort of like analyzes certain frequencies. So you say like, I want to look at the bass frequency range, like 0 to what is it, like 500 hertz or something.
Yeah.
And when there's a spike in that frequency range, I want a 0 to 1 value. And from there you can then synthesize the 0 to 1 value in different ways and get like different audio reactive parameters. So you get like a 0 to 1 pulse when the bass drum hits. I lost my train of thought.
No, that's all right.
That's good. Honestly, like that sounds pretty fascinating.
I mean, it's pretty lost on our.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's like
yeah.
God talking to ants at this point. But
I think
I feel
like,
the wiser for it.
I on a basic level, it's having a code and response, so you're inputting and then outputting a response in the simplest form. And for something like music, there's definitely a synergy there where the live art, because in history there's been painters painting on.
Right,
there's I think there's a band that still do it in Bristol, do it. Sorry. And they, have someone painting a whole painting during their whole live set, and it's like a jam, and it's just incredible.
Oh, cool.
What you're doing is essentially that in a different way, where it's like you're having an immersive experience where the band tends to not be the sole focus. It's not like a singer up
Yeah.
front with a big beam on them. It's kind of like the music and the visuals are working together.
Yeah.
So for you, you know, obviously it could just be something where it's like, okay, there's a music video or there's a video or some sort of imagery that I want to respond to with my artwork. How, for you, what's the connection with music? Why is it so important within that?
Yeah, so I mainly want to bring audiences into like an otherworldly environment that I create. And through using music, it makes the audiences believe that it's real. a bit more.
It's not just like an installation. It feels like they're really actually entering into space or something.
Yeah. And I strive to have like as many different sort of audio reactive layers as there are instruments within a song. So like the guitars, drums, synth, etc. each have their sort of visual representation. So there's never any break in like suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
So if you hear something, I want the audience to be able to see it as well.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like a symbiotic relationship. If you don't know if like the visuals are making the audio or the audio is creating the visuals.
That's sick.
Yeah, amazing.
I'm loving that.
It's just so exciting I think, to hear, you know, this sort of element of artistry within music. And particularly the live setting. Yeah, I mean, we've got to go to a bloody gig. I feel
Yeah,
really
you know,
bad
we
that
have to. We have to. 'Cause it's like I've seen the Wait for Tiger thing like just on Instagram all the time. And
Yeah.
I didn't put together for ages that like you'd done it, and I was like,
Sam's coming on.
yeah,
My name isn't really on that anywhere. So
Yeah, but-
So how did that work? Is it how are you like credited at all?
I don't think so. No. But I don't think any of the artists are really credited. Who have done work for Wait for Tiger. You sort of get contracted by them. I don't want to go into too much
For sure.
contract stuff, whatever. But it's just sort of like a nice Easter egg if you go and visit and you know it's done by me.
Yeah.
I guess.
Ah, cool. Well, there you go. It's world exclusive.
Yeah,
first.
the void at Wait for Tiger is my room.
What other like creative mediums, like be it fine art, screen, obviously music's imperative to what you do, but like how film and all these things, how they influence your style and like the way you approach the whole idea, I suppose. Like what influences you in that kind of regard?
So I'm obviously very inspired by music. I think I'm inspired by film a lot in the sort of style of my visuals. So I quite like gritty films. Some of my favourite films are Lahane, Babylon,
nice.
the older one, not the newer one, and Pi, Darren Aronofsky's debut. And they're all quite like gritty,
Sort of high
very good,
contrast or like
like high contrast, like quite sort of like gritty storyline and also gritty like visual wise.
Very like visceral, like they're very complementary to each other.
Like Pi is very like grainy, black and white. Same with Lahane as well, as black and white film. So I think I just quite like the like sort of like true stories, like grittiness of those films. And obviously with a lot of my like visual artwork, I use a lot of like distortion and displacement effects and things like that. So I kind of like that like grittiness, like ordered chaos sort of vibe.
Yeah, like because when I saw your installation, I was thinking the first thing that came to my head was like that huge like Blade Runner 2049 like of Ana de Armas like kind of coming over the top. I think it's just me just like seeing tech, and I was like that kind of, like that kind of, but like I don't know, seeing your actual artwork being done now in the modern era is like those kind of things that you see in like these future high concept tech films and shows. Like it's when really not that far away from that kind of thing.
No, absolutely.
It's pretty exciting.
As well as, you know, like that often film, you are just consuming it. You know that it's like it's fictional because it's been captured. You know, especially like fiction or science fiction or, you know, whatever. You're like, oh, this is an art form. I'm consuming it because it's done, and that's that. You know, seeing something live that does sort of take your breath away and it's a bit like, wow, oh my god, this is actually achievable to a certain degree. Obviously not have massive 3D hologram grabbing you, but like
not yet.
Well, no, I mean, people are doing stuff like that, but it's, I think, to have that it's just really cool, like
Yeah.
really interesting to see, and makes it feel real. And I think that's the thing, is finding that balancing act between something that feels so alien and weird and non-human, but has to have something which makes it human.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of my work as well. I think of my art being like abstract expressionism. So like 20th century painters like Jackson Pollock or whatever, are like big abstract expressionist artists. And I think the theme around abstract expressionism is like, it's fly going on my face.
Crazy.
Yeah, the theme about abstract expressionism is it's sort of trying to like explain emotions and like human thought and like feelings, stuff like that. And that's also always what I'm trying to bring across in my artwork. I kind of think my artwork is like for me, and it's really great that other people enjoy it as well.
Yeah.
But most of my work, I'm like trying to understand how I feel, basically. So I think the like controlled chaos sort of aspect of it resonates in quite a lot of people, because that's what the human experience is quite a lot of the time.
Yeah, so true. Just trying to find, like, trying to have a moment of stability around the strip going on.
So you know, with all these like crazy particles flying around and whatever, and then like the moment where it sort of calms down and there's a little bit more control. I think that relates to quite a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting, you know, talking to different people and understanding how they produce their work. You know, I was talking to the HAAL guys, and they were like, you know, we're making this for ourselves inherently. We want to create and make music together because it's fun, it's enjoyable. And I was sort of, I asked a question. I was like, you know, where's the, you know, is there financial incentive?
Where's the money?
And they were sort of like, oh, we don't really give a shit. It'd be great if we can make money.
Yeah.
That's always a given. But as long as we're making enough to carry on doing what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, with the issues with streaming and, you know, Instagram and just the ways that we put out our outputs, you know, what are you looking for, you know, regardless of financial incentive, you know, what are you looking for in terms of putting out your work? Because obviously, you know, you can put stuff on Instagram, it's nice, get a few likes, good fun, but, you know, what would be like the best sort of thing for you to showcase it? And obviously, you know, doing an exhibition is great as well.
Yeah, I think definitely in a live setting. So as soon as you render something or export it to put it online, for example, you lose quality in the image. And a big part of why I wanted to go into live visuals in the first place is it's completely lossless in terms of quality. So it's like the best actual resolution and quality that it can be. So I think my ideal way of putting out visuals would definitely be in a live sort of scenario.
Blimey.
And I think, to be honest, like the wetware gigs are sort of my favorite gigs I've ever done. Because the focus is on the visuals as much as the audio. And we just get people like sat down on the floor just taking it all in, and I really like that sort of peaceful environment where you're just fully able to like sit back and just
Have you had any gigs where it's, you know, a little bit more jumpy and intense?
Definitely. That's kind of, I like that sort of music, so I like doing those gigs as well. But gigs like that are very different, because a lot of the time people aren't looking at the projections or whatever because they're too busy dancing with their friends, having fun, which is obviously fine. But I think I prefer more like artsy kind of gigs, I suppose, where there's more focus on exhibition or things like that.
Is there any like artists right now, be it like Bristol based or just anywhere in the world, that you would like, you just love, like they're your dream to like do an installation or like a AV thing for?
I've definitely got my bucket list artists.
Your Mount Rushmore.
I'm not sure if it would ever happen, but I'd love to work with Gantz. Also Lorraine James, I really love their work. Any sort of like textural electronic artists, I guess. I find like some of my favorite music is just like really ambient and like heavily textured, sort of like droney music, stuff like that. So I like representing those textures with like visual textures as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, if you're listening, guys, you know where to find them.
Exactly, yeah. He is a big name, and you need to get him now. Okay, what I want to know is, like, did you have any, like, prior experiences? Obviously, you said you've done film and things like that, but, like, do you have any prior experiences with, like, fine art and things like that? And, like, what was, like, what's the main difference in producing, like, visual medium in, like, film or, like, with a camera or with the art on a canvas or whatever? What's the difference between that and producing what you're doing? Like, and can you still find those overlaps and, like, draw inspiration from the other disciplines?
Yeah, I can definitely still draw inspiration from things like fine art or like feature films and things like that. But I think the process of making what I make compared to making something like that is very different.
Yeah.
I think purely in the fact that what I do is real time, so like it's happening like right in the moment. So I tend to not use things that I've previously exported, and I don't ever design a video. How can I explain this?
Kind of like going over the same ground. Or
So the way like tour visuals work, so like big visuals for like, I don't know, like Doja Cat or something like that. The whole set is completely pre-planned.
Yeah.
So they know like what songs they're going to play, how the songs are going to mix into each other, and the visuals are completely pre-rendered, pre-planned, everything. So they just cue it all up, play it at the right time, and that's sort of like the old school way, I guess, of doing like tour visuals and live visuals. But with the new media art sort of side of things and real-time generative art, there's sort of like no room for pre-planning. You can plan the types of visuals you want to use or the looks you want to go for, but because all of the visuals are driven with the audio that's played on the night, it's sort of it depends on what's played, really. Yeah. So another thing to note is the art that I make, it can run forever, and it doesn't repeat itself. So because of that, every time I go to export something for Instagram or whatever, it's always different. And like there is always a new iteration. I don't go through and plan when I want it to get brighter or when I want it to change color. You just sort of run the simulation, let it do its thing, and you capture it.
That's cool.
So it takes away a lot of the pre-planning side of things, and you sort of design the system and just let it do its thing.
Is it quite relieving then to, like, once you get to that point where you've done everything, like doing all the coding and the inputs and things like that, once it gets to the event, do you just kind of sit back and just like let it happen? Or
Yeah,
is it
sort of.
Yeah.
It's sort of like you have to like rein it back in.
Yeah.
Because you set it all up, you set all your audio parameters, and a lot of the time I find myself just battling the sort of audio frequencies that are going on. So for one song, the bass threshold that I've set might need to be raised, so I'm like tweaking the sort of audio parameters that I've set. So yeah, I'm always sort of like battling the audio to make sure that my visuals are still responding to all the correct aspects.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you? So I know very small amount of information about these sort of things, and one thing I do know is there's like a small sort of community, well maybe not small, again I don't know what I'm talking about, of people that do it with analog equipment. So whether you're still using digital elements and then you're using analog equipment to output it. So I know there's like these old these like machines that you can, on like an old TV using a VHS player, and you can do sort of visuals via that, and I think I saw you do something like that.
Yeah, I do analog stuff as well. Mostly for just experimentation, but I'm starting to lean towards like releasing visuals and doing live shows with analog gear instead of like digital software, I guess. Yeah, but that's been a thing for like decades. Using like video synths as asides to normal audio synths. You can sort of like mix different videos and apply effects and create feedback loops with the like physical hardware that give you a lot of like different textures and looks compared to like the new digital way of doing things.
Wow.
So I'm really excited to do some analog gigs. That's really fun.
Yeah.
Is there a learning curve between like going from digital to analog, or is it much more like actually getting your hands dirty kind of thing?
It is, because like obviously all the digital stuff you're just on a computer and you're gonna click and type away and whatever, but when you do the analog side of things, it's like physical hardware that you're having to like connect with cables, and you're sort of like emulating how Touch Designer works, but like with like analog physical hardware. Or I guess it's the other way around, Touch Designer emulated the analog way of doing it. But yeah, it's a really fun and like different way of working, I guess.
It must like inform you more as well, like the whole your entire approach to like how you do it, like even like with digital, like just getting those insights must be so fascinating.
Definitely. Because a lot of the techniques that I use in my digital artwork, they originate from analog processing and analog ways of working. So I think when I started messing around with analog gear, I like finally understood what feedback is and like how it works, because when you actually set it up physically, it just makes you think about it in a different way.
Interesting. There's some people, it's like an argument of like, what's better, and actually who cares. I think it's always really interesting learning from those old techniques and then implementing them, or just using those techniques, and it makes you become a little bit more like, I don't know, it's grounding in a way, where you're like, these inputs are happening, and it's not just simple, it's like actionable in a way. It sounds like you like to sort of incorporate both of those things, so using analog equipment, also digital, but do you think, because obviously you can emulate analog stuff, can't you? Is it for you, the actual raw experience of using analog gear is a bit more appealing because it's a bit more real?
I think it's just like two sort of separate things, really. Like, you can emulate analog textures and looks in a digital way, but it's just not the same at all. So I quite like to sort of like dip my fingers in both analog and digital. I like to merge them sometimes as well. So something I've been doing recently is creating a audio reactive animation in Touch Designer and outputting that to analog gear to like texture it.
Wow. Yeah.
You can then bring the analog textured version back into Touch Designer as an input and like composite it in different ways and get a lot of like interesting feedback that you wouldn't get if you just did the effects in the digital software.
Yeah. Wow. So fusing the two, basically.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Some people might like argue against that and argue that you shouldn't, mess around and merge the two. But
it's your own prerogative, like.
I think it's quite fun.
Exactly.
And that's like that's pretty much all my work is. I'm just like experimenting, trying to find things that I like, and as long as I'm having a good time.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you want. Like the last thing you want is to get bored of the thing that you're doing. Really, isn't it? As long as you can keep it fresh and exciting, that's power to you, man. Exactly.
That's why I've got loads of analog gear that I haven't used yet.
Becomes collectible.
It's exactly exciting. It's a new journey.
Yeah.
So we spoke about like Wake the Tiger and your installation there. Have you got any future projects, installations going on?
Off the top of my head, I haven't got any installations upcoming. No. I've got a few gigs on the horizon, and I've got a gallery exhibition.
Oh, amazing.
Sick.
That's upcoming as well. But no more like actual installations for the time being.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Are they all like Bristol based or?
The gigs are but the gallery exhibition that I've been asked to do, I was approached by a gallery in Singapore.
Oh, mad.
Which is quite exciting.
Wow. Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
It's just like completely out of the blue again. Which is really cool to be approached by them.
That was been quite a bizarre email. Just
it was. I think they just
me.
DM'd me on Instagram or something.
Oh,
They were like, "Hey, really like your work." I kind of thought they were like a bot.
Yeah.
At first,
it's always the case. You're like, are you offering me a discount or something?
Yeah. I was like, "Dude,
are you trying to steal my bank details?"
You got
So I did actually ask them like, "How can I know that you guys are legit?" Because obviously, if I'm giving my work to them, I want to know that they're a proper gallery and but it's a digital gallery. I might not say the name of them for now because I don't know if I can. But they also have a physical gallery space in Singapore. I doubt I'll go out there, but yeah, it would be nice to know that my work's being exhibited like physically and digitally on their website.
Yeah.
And people can buy my work through their website.
Wow. Yeah.
Which is quite exciting. But
Sweet.
So we'll definitely link that.
Yeah,
and
we'll
then
link that.
also the gigs as well.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah, I've got a couple gigs coming up. There's another Resonant Body gig upcoming in May, I think.
Nice.
Yeah.
And HAAL have got their release show in May as well.
Yes.
I think they're both in May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's
Which
May.
I'll be running the visuals for. So
Amazing. Well,
Looking
we'll
forward to
definitely be there.
We'll be there.
Links in the description.
Yeah,
everyone.
exactly.
Check it out.
Check it out.
Check it out.
Check out my man as well, because he's doing a
Yeah.
very good job. Big up. My man Sam. He's also
Have a
here. At the link. Okay.
I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Unless
Okay.
there's anything else you want to touch on at all?
Yeah. Anything you want to plug? Or
Yeah,
or any topics actually first.
yeah. Probably not. Can't
Okay.
really think.
Okay.
What are your socials so people can check you
Yeah.
out?
Or anything you want to plug as
Yeah,
well.
exactly.
I'm in the process of building my website, but that's not out yet. So at the moment, I've only got my Instagram.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's AV. It's spelt a weird way. So it's _ AAEVII.
Nice.
That'll be in the description
Mhm.
for those who can't work out vowels.
Yeah.
Myself.